Zoom with the iconic Keanu Reeves, award-winning writer Matt Kindt, and legendary Marvel artist Ron Garney to discuss their new comic, BRZRKR, a 12-issue limited series about one immortal warrior's fight through the ages. BRZRKR's Kickstarter funded at like $1.4 million. The first comic has hit 600,000 copies. I just gotta know, how did this project come together? How did you guys find each other?
That's Boom Studios, the publisher of the comic book. I went to meet with them just on a general meeting, and they asked me if I had any ideas, and I shared the BRZRKR idea. And then they asked me if I wanted to do a comic, and I said yes. And then they went forward and put together the team. I met with Matt, met with Ron, Bill Crabtree on color, Clem Robbins on lettering. It was an all-star cast. And so it's really, Boom Studios.
Awesome. Keanu, have you always wanted to create a comic book, or was this just an idea that you realized, you know what, comics would be a great vehicle for this? Which came first?
The idea came first, and as I said, Boom Studios is the one who asked me if I'd like to make a comic, and I was like, yes. I don't know. I didn't know what I was saying yes to, other than I know what a comic book is, and I love them. But I didn't know what I was saying yes to in terms of co-writing or the relationship with the illustrator, like how the mechanics of. I know movie making, but now I'm learning about comic book making.
You know what's great though is there's no budget, there's no interference, there's no filter for what we want to do. So we're just putting it out there without any constraints, for better or worse.
Yeah, you know what, Matt, you've collaborated on some incredible projects, some of my faves. But you've mentioned in the past that the co-writing process on this project was really unique. So how did that work? How did the two of you write together?
I've only co-written with Jeff Lemire before, and we would come up with an outline, and then we just split up the pages and each write our own. And with this one, we came up with the outline together, and then for the whole thing, all 12 issues, and then we would do outlines together for each individual issue, and then go over that, and then start adding dialogue and break down scenes together. And it was just really, we were writing through dialogue, through talking, and just kicking ideas back and forth and sort of figuring out the characters and just having these long talks about the meaning of violence and history and these bigger conversations to get these ideas into the story. Like when you do a painting, you don't just start painting, we sketch it out and then we put in the details and then keep adding to it until it's done, and then pass it off to Ron and hope it makes sense.
Well, Ron, speaking of painting, I'm seeing shades of 2000 AD and Cam Kennedy slain, and this is the images are going all the places that I'm a fan of. I'm curious, what are some of the inspirations that you were going for in creating the artwork for BRZRKR?
Directly, my influences have been, as far back as Alex Raymond, Al Williamson, and Al Foster, and then all the way up through the years, and Frank Miller, and I loved Cam Kennedy, actually. Interesting, you don't hear his name too often, so I'm impressed. And name nowadays. This whole look that you're talking about really sort of evolved. I was doing a Men of Wrath, this creator-owned book I did, and and that was a very violent book itself, and so that's kind of where it started evolving. I was trying to get this really stark sort of contrast to, impressionistic contrast at the same time with lights and, leaving things open and negative space.
You can feel it. You can see it. It's visceral. I'm actually very curious about the character B. Now, this is for everybody. He's clearly immortal, but his father exploits his abilities. So it brings in the question, is his penchant for violence nature or nurture?
It could be an exploitation of nature, but then
that's interesting.
I would say it goes one of the answers is in his name, Anutu or whatever that we came up with. It's it's kind of means it's a tool, something to be used, which has two purposes, right? You can make something with it and you can destroy something with it. So I think I think that he has this potential, and then depending on what he decides, or like with his father and his mother, like them pointing him in a direction, they're either making something or destroying something with him.
In terms of color, whose idea was it for B to take a red and a blue pill?
Uh-oh. There we go.
That was Bill.
That was Bill.
Bill.
There's a lot of little Easter eggs to your cinematic journey, Keanu, if you squint throughout this series.
Yeah.
Now that this is going to be adapted to both live action and anime, what are you all most excited about?
Like, what's it going to look like, and what's the story going to be?
Just let it go, man.
Like, what's going to happen? The film is not looking to be a live action version of the comic book. So they might share some things, but it might be different.
What about the anime? Is that going to be...
Anime, I'm hoping that it just goes somewhere else.
So it just exists in the world, but not necessarily, not a page for page faithful adaptation in either.
No. I'd just be like...
Getting back to B a little bit, does B has his fixation with death on many levels. Does he really want to take his own life, or does he want death as an option?
Yeah, it's about will, right? So he wants the option. He wants, I don't want to die. I want to be able to die. But how can I live? And I want to, if I'm living with that, but I can't die, that's one life. And if I can die, what's another life? And to your point, speaking about love, it's, what are the consequences of immortality? What are the driving forces because we are mortal? How much do we do, and how do we respond to things because we know we're going to die? In a positive way and a negative way.
Yeah, I think there's a sad twist on that, where it's the idea of like better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. But then what if you are constantly losing? Like that kind of wears on you after a while. And I think that's something that's fun to explore with the character. In
terms of his immortality, this is really fascinating because he's got this memory and he can remember everything, but he can't seem to remember love, like past his mother. So toying with that a little bit.
Well, that's the arc 1, right?
Oh, okay.
Arc 1 is his origin story. So there's a real focus on the origin story of the character, both in the past and the present. Mm-hmm. And but to address your question, welcome to issue 5.
I'm going to have to ask them for that preview when we're done here.
Yeah.
I think you'll love it.
I thank you all. I really appreciate, can't wait to see the volume. Can't wait to see the next issue. And we absolutely cannot wait for these adaptations and seeing the world of BRZRKR expand. Thank you all so much.
It's kind. Thank you so much.